behind to win the Memorial, secured Bones DK $6,000, bringing this year's total to over $120,000. What an event that was. A lot of excitement, a lot of controversy, a lot of things to talk about as we prepare for the Palmetto and the U.S. Open the following week. Welcome to the Bones DK Golf Show. I'm your host, Edge. You can follow me at Golf Guy WV in my quest to 100 rounds. We're at 35 total rounds right now. Getting round 36 in tomorrow. Maybe as you're listening to this podcast, I will be golfing, so not too much to complain about here. Joining me today, as always, TW Man from Tampa. Welcome, Wildman. Wildman, how are things treating you down in Florida?
Real good. Wildman is here. Just cut the grass, man. It's about 98 degrees here with humidity, so I just took a quick dip in the pool. I just stopped hallucinating a few minutes ago.
The namesake, Bones DK, wallet a little heavier with the addition of some extra cash this weekend. Congratulations on the score. How do you feel, Bones DK?
Feeling good. I wish, the listeners would have cashed in. To be honest with you, that was a high buy-in tournament. Only cashed two times my money, but hey, that's the point of buying in high and lower entries. You get opportunities like that. So yeah, we're celebrating, really excited, and we're gonna double down at the U.S. Open. I see that 4-4-4-4 contest, and we're eyeing it up. Maybe try to take down $1 million.
What was the sweat like this past week? Because it was really a pretty exciting tournament down the last 4 or 5 holes. Morikawa, who you didn't expect to relinquish that lead, not only relinquished it, but lost it on the first playoff hole. So what was the sweat like, Bones DK?
Oh, man, it was just so fun. Lowry was our ticket, man. He really came through for us on Sunday, so that was great. We liked him a lot. Corey Connors, honestly, really let us down. If we would have had Finau, the chalky Finau in that spot, or Scotty Scheffler, our boy. I'll tell you what, it was pretty gut-wrenching watching Scotty T3 and me not having all my money on him like I usually do. So I'm going to learn my lesson there. I'm playing Scotty Scheffler here on out, and I won't have many more takes on him moving forward. But yeah, it was fun. Stuart Sink was a great rally too. Kyle Stanley, 42% owned in the big contest. Wildman Flyer of the Week, so I don't know how much of a flyer that was. But yeah, Shane Lowry at 7.5% owned. He came through for us, and obviously Colin Morikawa. What an amazing player.
Lowry was a great flyer, quite honestly. I know he didn't make Wildman's Flyer of the Week, but he was kind of a closet guy that definitely catapulted some people's lineups into that money line there. We talked about Scotty Scheffler. One thing about Scheffler, I just noticed, he makes a ton of birdies. He is one of the most fundamentally sound players out there. Does he have that, Tiger instinct, though, to actually win a tournament? And I'm not saying Colin Morikawa is coming off the street, with a knife either necessarily. But, Morikawa just seems like he's so much more poised to win than Scheffler is. Any comment on that, Wildman?
Yeah, you know how it goes, right? The first one's always the hardest. And, the thing about Scotty, WGC match play, lost in the final. He's been there, top 5 in majors. Now he's top 5 in the Memorial, which was a major S-type field. So, he's right there. He had the lead there on the back 9, I believe, at one point. So I expect him to win pretty soon. But, man, he's a gamer. Big, strong fields, I'm eyeing him up. And, hopefully his price sticks around that, high 8, low 9 range before everybody catches on to him. We like guys like that.
And what can you say about Cantlay also? He really, again, came from behind, nailed that huge putt on 17 after the rain delay, which was really bizarre that Morikawa had to take that chip shot buried in the rough in a pouring down rain, and then Cantlay gets to go sit under the tree and come back, bone dry. That was pretty incredible right there.
I was texting somebody, I forget who it was. How many times can the PGA Tour drop the ball? It's not that hard to just make an accurate ruling. It feels like they do it every week where something happens. A couple rounds prior, I think they made players tee off at 8:26 Eastern where the sun was down. Players, Keegan put it in the water off the tee, ended up making triple to miss the cut by 2 strokes. Then they do this with Morikawa, where it's a couple of guys looking at each other, you, me, you. You gonna make the call or am I? So
you saw his shirt. His shirt was literally soaked. after he hit that golf shot. Like I said, Cantlay made a huge putt there, 30-footer or whatever it may be, but he got to do it under bone-dry conditions. So, yeah, it was not the best hour, not the best look for the PGA Tour this weekend, especially with all the controversy around Jon Rahm as well. But we move forward to the Palmetto Championship at Congaree Country Club, South Carolina. This is a par 71 course, a little over 7,600 yards, so it is a little longer. Bermuda grass. It's designed by a guy named Tom Fazio, who I don't know at all, but it's the same course designer who also designed Quail Hollow. So there are some differences there, and I'll just read this straight from CBS. Congaree is a flat course that is built around a lot of natural hazards on a big piece of land. It's nearly the complete opposite of what we see at many classic venues where old trees and small greens make for a claustrophobic experience. There are some older trees at Congaree. It's built around. Many of the holes are sprawling. Fairways run into natural sandy waste areas. There's not a whole lot of rough out here. Decent amount of water. It's a comparison really to Pinehurst number 2 is what they're saying, which we last saw at the U.S. Open. And the interesting part about this tournament also, Wildman, this is a one and done. This tournament is just substituting for the Canadian Open, which will be replaced next year, come back next year after the protocols from COVID and all that dissipates. So what are we looking at stat-wise to build our lineup? What kind of statistics are going to be the important ones here at Congaree?
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, it's it should be mentioned, too, this is the longest par 71 on the PGA Tour, and it's right up the road, actually, here from Tampa. It's near Savannah, Georgia. And guys, like, it's not raining down here a whole lot. Expect really dry, fast conditions. Like you said, there's not much rough. It's all baked out. I expect the greens to be lightning as well. So for me, that's going to mean that there's not much trouble off the tee. Maybe slightly favor those guys who hit it a little longer, the bombers. But we're looking at short game here because I expect greens and regulation percentages to be on the lower end than typical on the PGA Tour. So you're going to have a lot of Texas wedges, low country knockdowns, if you know what I'm talking about, putting from 30 yards off the green or chipping with a 7-iron type stuff. So we're looking for crafty players that are good around the green, good with the flat stick this week.
Not a terribly loaded field, Bones DK, but you do have Koepka. You do have the number 1 player in the world, DJ, but only 7 of the top 30 players in the world are here this weekend. So what do you make of the field as we are 1 week out from the U.S. Open?
This is a strange field. This is a tough tournament, but we're going to dig deep. You know, I see a lot of chalk out there. A lot of guys are going to some of the same guys. You're going to have to take some risks this week and take some guys that you're not comfortable with at a high price. But, so I'd pick some of your favorite guys. DJ Brooks, I'm probably going to fade the whole top unless it's Terrell Hatton, honestly. But, we'll get to talking to these guys.
Let's talk about him, dude, because you do not usually get betting odds like this. Both Johnson and Koepka are 8-1 to win this tournament. Those are incredibly good odds for golfers relative to a PGA tournament. So you just said, though, Bones DK, you're going to be fading here. How do you fade those guys? It feels like you have to have one of those two in your lineup if you want to win this week.
Yeah, I just see a lot of value down low in the 9 and 8K range. I'm going to try to stack up, 6 great golfers. If one of these guys misses the cut or doesn't care. I mean, both these guys are so risky to play because DJ and Brooks both just seem like they don't care about these small tournaments, and that's what scares me about them. I'd rather have somebody like a Rahm or a JT up there that actually cares sometimes. These guys only care about the major. I feel like they're going to work a little bit on their game, maybe tinker a little bit. So I just don't see them coming out and winning. I see this as an opportunity for some of these guys that have been trying to win lately.
That's a really good take right there. These are two of the most nonchalant, passive guys you will find on tour when it comes to non-major tournaments. And I do think there will be a little tinkering going on out there. One other thing you should mention, DJ at 11-4, the highest player at DK. He has been tied 48th or worse in 5 of his last 6 starts. So I don't know how high of a pick he is. But again, Wildman, the betting odds being at 8-1, it's hard to pass up on one of those two guys. Would you argue that also?
Yeah, I mean, that's just where the public money's going to come in on the guys they know, they recognize, I mean, it should be mentioned very clearly that the field is what it is because the U.S. Open is out at Torrey in California starting, in 8 days. So that's another reason to really watch these guys is we don't know what's going on with appearance fees for sponsorships. Are they just there to, say what's up and hit a few bombs and get out of town on Saturday, head out to California? So, I agree with Rob. I mean, I think that there's some value here. But, I mean, there are only two guys. So when you're talking top 5, top 10, there's 3 to 8 guys that are guaranteed to be in the top 10, even if these guys are competing. So I think there's a lot of opportunity at lower prices this week.
So DJ and Koepka, DJ going at 11.4, Koepka going at 11.1. If you go down then into the 10,000s, pretty big drop off, quite honestly. There's a $700 drop between Fitzpatrick and Koepka. So Fitzpatrick is at 10.4. You've got Hatton at 10.2, English at 9.9, who actually has been playing out in a lot of good models. Harris English has. Could be a dark horse here. You have Sing J.M. and Fleetwood, who's looking for his first win. I almost said her first win on the PGA. His first win on the PGA. He's at 9,500. That's an interesting price there for Fleetwood. What do you make of any of these guys, Bones TK?
Yeah, we'll have Wildman's take on Fleetwood. I know he likes him a little more, but like I said, I'm looking at Hatton. His form is there, honestly, and he's had some pretty good finishes. I do like his price. He's good around the green, and he can really string up birdies, and he's a streaky player. So I do like Hatton. You mentioned Harris English. He's really, really interesting. He's staring me down at 9.9. He's going to be really low owned. That's also why I like him. A lot of people are looking at other guys around that range. Harris English is a scary player, but man, he won not too long ago. It wasn't maybe about a year ago, but I like Harris English. You said there's a lot of sand here. He's one of the best up and down players in the entire game around the green, so I love it. You look at his stats right here. He gained on approach last week. His driver's been okay, but you can get away with some scary drives this week, and he's great around the green, and he can putt. So I'm definitely looking at Harris English. He likes Bermuda. Is that what you said? It's Bermuda grass, Edge?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so I like Bermuda. I just think he's interesting. He can win a tournament, and if you get him at low owned, give me some Harris English. So that's my take on this, you guys.
What do you like about Fleetwood so much, Wildman?
Well, this is desert golf out here, and what I was saying before, you're going to have a lot of sort of weird situations. Let's say atypical situations around the greens here. And that really translates a lot to European golf, where he's got a lot of success. He's too good a player to have never won on the PGA Tour. So maybe this is the week where he just takes advantage of it and can get it done. He's rating out really well for me. He's number 11 in my model. He's second in strokes gained around the green and 22nd in bogey avoidance. I'm expecting a lot of 7-8 footers for par. So you want the guys that you believe in that can knock those down. And I want to mention one other thing. I'm putting some weight into par 5 scoring, and the reason is this: number one, it's a really long course. Like I said, longest par 71 out there. But there's also a handful of par 4s that are measuring well over 500 yards. So forget about the fact that it's a par 4. Can your player make it down in 4? Which is the equivalent of birdie on a 5, right? On a hole that might be 525 yards. So that's a little bit of unorthodox thinking, but I could actually argue that there's 3 par 5s, and then there's 2 or 3 par 4s that play like par 5s. So really there's 5 or 6 holes that are playing like par 5s out there, if you follow me there. So again, Fleetwood's a guy that can get it off the tee out there and has a decent short game. Maybe this is his week. At 95, I mean, come on, 9,500. For a guy that's been as high as like 8th in the world, I'm buying.
It's a good price. It is a good price for Fleetwood. Long holes, as Wildman just said, there are 3 par 4s that play over 500 yards at Congaree. Let's get into that next tier of guys. Ian Poulter, who had a nice week this past weekend at 9,200. Patton Kazir, who I actually like a lot, and his price kind of reflects how hot he's been lately. He's at 9,100. What do you say, Higo? Coming in at 9,000. Alex Noren at 89. Mitchell at 88. Kisner, interesting price here, 87. We love that guy. And then you got Lucas Glover and Harold Varner III, who, again, in a lot of fantasy national models that I've been looking at, Varner III actually playing out pretty well here. So, interesting group of names here in this mid-tier, Bones DK. Who you liking?
Yeah, give me some Pat Gazire. You called it, Edge. I like that call. $9,100. This guy can string up birdies, 20 and 26 in 2 of his last 3. And he's also a great player around the green. His stats are there. His irons are actually really good lately. And last time he lost on approach, he followed up with gaining 8.1 at the Valero Texas Open. There you go. It's a Texas-type course, I guess you can say, with those Texas wedges. He came in 9th place there, followed up with 2 top 3s in his last 2 tournaments. So give me some Patton Gazire. He's also great at putting, so I like that, and he loves Bermuda. So Patton Gazire is one of my favorite plays this week for sure. Garrett Higo, he's interesting. I don't even really know what to say about him. Maybe Wildman has a better take on him. And then you go down, I like Alex Noren for sure. Lucas Glover, I was kind of excited to talk about him. And then I was looking at the projections, and he's one of the highest owned projected so far. Wednesday, midday, it's kind of a little accurate. But, man, he can make some birdies. I know he has good history here. So, yeah, Lucas Glover's a guy I'm looking at. But, Wildman, who are you liking in this range?
I think I know Glover's a Clemson grad. And he's either local or he's a member here. So he's definitely more familiar with the course than probably a majority of the field. I think, when you see headlines like that and articles, that's just going to drive ownership up. The hometown boy, right? He has to win. I think there's something to it, but Glover's never been a guy that I've been confident standing over a 5 or 6 footer. So, he's really good when you can throw darts into greens, and I don't expect that this week. I think Higo is the play here. He's a really young guy, European. He's only, I think, 22, 23 years old. He's already won on 4 different tours with 2 European Tour victories this season. So, guy's not going to be afraid of sort of those dry, baked out fairways and around greens. Probably sees that a lot over in Europe. So a guy I really like at 9K. And then I would expect Noren to be pretty high owned as well. And I think, there's reason for that. Solid player, again, a guy who's been in the top 10 or 12 in the world ranking at one point or another, who seems to be finding his stride at the right time. So pick your poison there.
My favorite out of that whole group, though, guys, is Kevin Kisner. I'm going to tell you, I like Kiz a lot. I think he could make a lot of birdies. I know he doesn't make a lot of cuts, but this does kind of set up for a course I think Kisner could succeed at as well. We get into that next tier, and another guy that I'm going to start with. I have no analysis to back this up, just name recognition. I feel like this is the kind of tournament where he could make a cut and maybe elevate you. Is Brandt Snedeker? He's coming in at 8,400. Vegas at 83. Russell Knox, I think, is an interesting play at 82. You got our boy Stallings at 8,000, who we love so much. I saw a picture of Danny Willett in a hospital bed. He's out. I don't know what's going on with him, but I hope he's all right. Cabrera Bello is actually pretty interesting at a price, 7,800 here. So, Bones DK, I mean, we're getting down to the bottom of the barrel here, but that's what it's going to take at the Palmetto. This is a weird tournament. It's not a loaded field. So, who are you getting out of these last few guys I just mentioned there?
Well, the 7K range is probably my favorite range, to be honest with you. We'll start with Vincent Whaley. It's Whaley season, baby. We've been calling him for weeks. This guy can pound it off the tee, good around the green. His stats are there. I can pull him up here on Fantasy National. But, yeah, give me some Vincent Whaley. He's probably my favorite play. I know he's a little popular, but I'm not even worried about that. Vincent Whaley loves Bermuda grass, gaining on approach. Good off the tee, good around the green. Yeah, so give me some Vincent Whaley. I still think he's underpriced. He's one of my favorite plays this week. And then, let's see, Ben Martin is another guy I like down in this range. I'm surprised that people are catching on to him, but look at this. I mean, a couple top 25s, a 9th and 11th. His approach is there, good off the tee, around the green. He's a putter, so give me some Ben Martin. We also had a friend of ours grow up on our street. In our Pittsburgh neighborhood, named Ben Martin, so I have some favoritism there. Let's go, Ben Martin, Upper St. Clair graduate. Hopefully he's listening. And then my final guy I like here is Seamus Power, oh man, give me some power. I love this guy. His approach is there. He can hit it off the tee. His finishes are there. Coming off a 9th at the Byron Nelson, really good around the green, and he can putt. So, and his favorite greens is Bermuda here. So honestly, those 3 guys I'm going to put in my lineup this week. Not necessarily the big lineup, but I'm gonna sprinkle these guys in everywhere in all my lineups. Those 3 guys I mentioned.
That's good stuff, man. That's really good statistics on those guys and analysis there as well. Wow, man, anybody out of that $7,000, $8,000 range that you're liking before your flyer of the week? We'll send it back to Robbie before you got to pick your flyer of the week. But anyway,
Willett had appendicitis, by the way, so he's out. But yeah, Vincent Whaley. I mean, look, he rates out 4th for me. But I mean, getting a guy like Vincent Whaley potentially as chalk is terrifying. I'll give you a great pivot off there. Pat Perez. Most of you probably don't know much about Pat Perez. He's been dealing with all kinds of ailments. He had, I think, a rotator cuff, an Achilles injury, something going on with his knee. This is a guy, again, it seems like the theme of the week for me, but was as high as 16th in the world at one point. Has multiple PGA Tour wins. And a guy that's as cool as a cucumber, kind of got that DJ Brooks Koepka sort of swag to him when he's out on the course. And he's coming off several good finishes in a row. So if Perez can get a putter going, he's been in the winner's circle. That's a great pivot off a chalky Whaley type player. And then one other guy I'll mention is Harold Varner. You know, he's a guy I only pick a couple times a year. This just seems like one, if he can make some putts that, you know, a course that he can play well at. Decent scrambler, decent on approach, has not been very good putting of late. Snedeker's just that guy's a scarecrow.
Yeah, I
mean,
had nothing to back it up other than just a gut feeling. It's one of those tournaments where, like, you know, he could finish, I feel like, in the top 25, you know, and make some birdies out there because there's no pressure. This is like a sponsor's exemption for Snedeker, and this is the kind of tournament, this is the only kind of tournament at this stage in his career that he can win and compete in. And so it might just set up nicely for him.
How about when his caddy had to pick the ball out of the hole for him?
I remember that. Guy's been around a long time. The guy's been around a long time. Any final thoughts on the Palmetto before we get Wildman's Flyer of the Week, Bones DK?
Hey, Edge, I kind of like the Snedeker pick. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to play him probably, but I played him a couple weeks ago, and he won me some money. So, you know, I could see that. I did want to mention one more guy. It was Luke List. Covey gave me some intel, B. Covey. That he holds the course record here, Luke List, actually. So he was someone I was looking at. Seems to be actually in pretty good form. He's amazing off the tee. His irons are there, and he's pretty good off the around the green. So maybe give me some Luke List there. He's just someone I'm looking at as another pivot off the 3 main picks I said there. Is there anyone else I want to talk about? You know, Rogers. My 2 flyers are Roger Sloan and Wes Roach. Those are my 2 cheap guys. Roger Sloan, he's just a good player. I don't know. He has a couple top 25s, coming off a 34th at the Byron Nelson. It's a weird tournament. So give me some Roger Sloan. I see him pop up every once in a while. And then Wes Roach, I just like him coming off 20 birdies actually. Wes Roach at the Byron Nelson, still coming in 61st. But hey, at $6,500, if you can give me 20 birdies and make the cut, that's all you need. His approach is there, decent around the green. So give me some Wes Roach as my flyer of the week.
A lot of Upper St. Clair themes in this podcast here today.
Yes.
The Roach family also lived across the street from us on Carmel Drive, right down the road from Ben Martin.
Yeah, that is true. That is
Kevin
true.
Bacon here all of a sudden. All right, Wildman, who is your flyer of the week?
By the way, has the segment just been completely hijacked from me? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, Wildman, who's your flyer of the week? Well, this is Raw. This is Bones DK. Let me tell you my flyers of the week. I'm going $6,900. Ranks out 6th in my model. Number 1 in bogey avoidance. So you can probably guess decent in approach, decent in scrambling, decent in putting. Is Hank Leviota, the little lefty. Not a very long hitter. But again, with baked out fairways, low ball flight, straight hitters are going to get that rollout to be out there with higher ball flight, longer hitters to sort of mitigate the length on this course. $6,900. We're queuing up Leviota right now, guys, everywhere. Every lineup I have right now has Leviota.
I do not know anybody from Upper St. Clair named Leviota, so that's where the theme stops, I guess. But hey, before we finish up here with the Palmetto, we do want to remind everybody next week is the U.S. Open, and we are going to try and get this podcast back on SoundCloud, not only on YouTube. We're going to try to have a video podcast for you guys next week as we get into the U.S. Open. We've had a lot of success this week. I'm excited about that, Rob. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I love it. Let's get our faces on the camera, and thanks everyone for listening. Let's keep this thing going. Let's keep the momentum going. To the moon.
I know that SoundCloud is helpful for some of us also that can't catch the stream on YouTube, that like to listen to it on our iPhones at lunch and all that. So we're going to try and get the SoundCloud link back up also. But Wildman, I'm looking forward to the U.S. Open. Looking forward to building the audience and getting to 100 rounds also. I got a couple rounds coming up with you at the end of July. We got some good things cooking here right now with the Bones DK Golf family.
Yeah, hey, when you watch the video at the U.S. Open next week, when you log in and see a hard-boiled egg on your screen, don't be alarmed. It's my head.
I mean, everybody that knows you, Wildman, or everybody that knows me, I tell them, I'm like, listen, my brother Wildman, because they talk about my widow's peak quite a bit. And my receding hairline, I'm like, look, my brother Wildman can't even grow a hair on his head. He's a cue ball. He just can't do it. So you may want to wear sunglasses if you watch the video feed next week. You're right. Even though he lives in Florida, it is quite a glare you get off the top of his head.
No wonder you liked Stuart Sink last week. That's why.
Yeah.
You just relate to him so well.
All right, boys.
We stick together,
Hey, excellent stuff as always. It is the Palmetto Championship at Congaree Country Club for Bones DK Golf and Wildman 66. My name is Edge. Follow me at Golf Guy WV. Thanks so much for listening to the Bones DK Golf Show, and good luck this week at the Palmetto.
Yeah, I just saw Bones DK sneak a sip of beer off screen.
He was sucking on the lining kugel the whole time. I noticed it.